And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical weather bulletin for September 26th. Well, a refreshingly quiet looking tropics right now on this day, number 270 of the year so far. We've had 75 storms form this year, and all that's left right now are the remnants of Lowell, which got downgraded, turned post-tropical earlier in the day. In the Atlantic, the remnants of Paulette are still moving along as well, moving west now, south of the Azores, and an area of interest that has only a small chance of development, 10% now, as it scoots off towards the northwest in the western Atlantic. In the eastern Pacific, though, there are some areas behind Lowell that could develop in the next 10 days. There are low chances right now, but I expect that these chances will start to increase as we get further down the line. We're really talking towards day 4 through till about 8 for potential development of one or both of those systems. In the western Pacific, there's more systems that could form behind Dolphin. The 20% there on the left hand side from an area that could develop near the Northern Mariana Islands, and a 50% which will be developing further towards the east. You'll see it on the satellite a little bit later. And those systems are active in the Indian Ocean or indeed anywhere else in the world right now. We have a pretty quiet perspective across the whole globe today, which we're very thankful for. Well, here's the North Atlantic then. You can see there a very small little disturbance. It was the one that we've marked. That little area of rotation south of Bermuda is where it's coming from. As you can see, not doing much. That's why it's only a 10%. You can see Paulette there as well, its remnants moving west there, and even a tiny little bit of convection, dare I say, in those latest frames. Gulf of Mexico looking fairly quiet, a few thunderstorms blowing up in eastern Florida. The eastern Pacific looking fairly quiet as well in the wake of Lowell there. Its influence is certainly quite broad there. And you'll start to see these disturbances, the areas of clouds south of Mexico and over Central America, Panama in particular right now. These are the areas to watch for the next 5 to 10 days where we might see those next possibly duo of storms. And same too for the western Pacific. You can see both the areas actually. The one near the Northern Mariana Islands, that's the 20%. That very broad area to the east there, that's the 50% right now that we've given. Those are our numbers at least. And models indicating that that could become a typhoon later on down the line. South Pacific looking generally fairly quiet. A few more thunderstorms blowing up than what we've seen recently over the southernmost Solomon Islands and out to sea up towards the equator. And in the Indian Ocean, lots of thunderstorms by the looks of things over the central part of India right now. Generally elsewhere it's fairly quiet. Sea surface temperatures still very much the same from what we've been seeing recently. The La Nina effect still easily in effect and getting stronger probably. Cooler waters out to sea, that's why Lowell has died at this point. And in the Atlantic, you can see the temperatures there still very ripe for development all the way from south of Bermuda through to the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea. 30 degrees plus in the western Caribbean, definitely something to watch out for late season activity. Indian Ocean, very warm in the northern Bay of Bengal as well. Can't rule out something strong here in the late season too. The second peak of the Indian Ocean coming on pretty soon now. And the western Pacific still a hotbed of sea surface temperatures at least, and maybe we'll have more later season activity because models are suggesting there could be 4 or 5 storms that form in the next 2 or 3 weeks in the basin, mostly out to sea, sort of the kind of activity you'd expect to see in August. Sea surface temperature anomalies look like this. So the western Pacific certainly very warm, South China Sea even warmer. The La Nina unmistakable there in the eastern Pacific extends into the west, and in the Atlantic the cool pools behind those recent hurricanes the only blemish on that warm sea surface temperature anomaly in general. On September 26, 1959 we had systems active in all northern hemisphere basins. Gracie was a tropical storm in the Atlantic, would later intensify. Wanda had formed in the central Pacific. Tropical Storm 10 in the eastern Pacific, which could have been a hurricane at this point, we just don't have the data, but unmistakably on the right hand side, Typhoon Vera was making landfall in Japan on this day, one of the extremely historic typhoons for the country. It caused a remarkable amount of damage and many thousands were killed by that storm, with a huge storm surge after its Category 5 peak. Well, here we are right now. We are in the Greek alphabet in the Atlantic. I think we're getting used to that. Gamma is the next name on the list. In the Eastern Pacific, Marie would be next. In the Central Pacific, we're still waiting for Hone. In the West Pac, Kujira is next up on the naming list, followed by Chan Hom. In the North Indian Ocean, we're looking out for Gati. And in the Southern Hemisphere, which will start to rev up in about a month or two, maybe earlier if there's an early season storm, Imogen is next in the Australian region. The Southwest Indian Ocean will kick off with Alicia, and the next name in the South Pacific is Yolanda. That's all for now. We'll have another tropical weather bulletin tomorrow night.